Hi, this is Glenn with Freedom for Life Fitness, and today we're going to talk about trigger point and foam rolling. So let's start with what are trigger points? Well, our body has fascia, and fascia surrounds our muscles, and it can become taut or it can actually get knots. It can get this way from overuse, trauma, poor posture, and aging. And we want to make sure that we work on our fascia and those trigger points. And the way we do that is through foam rolling. So why is this important? Well, if you have fascia that's unhealthy and trigger points, you're not going to have as good a performance. You're also going to be limited in your flexibility and mobility. It's going to be harder to recover from tough workouts. So it's important that we tackle these trigger points to make sure that we maintain healthy tissue. So how do we do it? Well, I brought along a few friends here, and as we look down here, you're gonna see a variety of different foam rolling or trigger point type devices. You'll see sticks, shepherd's hooks, different size balls, and different size rollers. If I were to pick one, I would go with a longer foam roller. So one of these two, because you get the most bang for your buck with trigger point. After you've been doing it a while, or you really want to get into trigger point more intensely, then you might want to start incorporating some of these other tools. But if you're just picking one, I would go with one of these longer foam rollers. So those are the devices that we use to do our trigger point. So now that we know which devices we can use to trigger point, let's talk about how we do it correctly. So trigger points, they'll tell you where they are. So if we roll over our tissues or apply pressure to our tissues, maybe you've gotten a massage in the past and you're like, whoa, that kind of feels painful, but almost like it feels good. That's an example of a trigger point. So what you would do is you would roll over your muscles and you'll find that tender spot. When you find that tender spot, say we have one here in the forearm, you apply direct pressure, hold it. You can hold it for minutes, but if you're in a little bit of a time crunch, 30 to 60 seconds is a good idea. And then after applying that direct pressure, you do cross friction across the tissues. Certain muscle groups allow you to what's called pin and stretch, where you put direct pressure on the tissue and then you stretch it out. So those are some ways that we're going to be able to do trigger pointing to improve our fascia. So let's go ahead and get started. Begin with a roller on your lower legs and roll up and down. You can either do all of your calf muscle and lower leg at once or break it into different sections, whatever's easier. To increase pressure, put the other leg on top. This increases the intensity. The next area is the lateral thigh and IT band. This is a little tricky and takes a while to get the hang of it. Begin with a roller on the side of your thigh, making sure to keep some of the pressure on your arms. To increase the intensity, you can lift both legs off the ground and roll entirely on the roller. The next exercise is the quadriceps or front of the thigh. Roll up and down from just below the hips to just above the knees. Like many, you can focus on one side at a time to increase the intensity.
The next is the hamstrings. This goes from just behind the knee or just above the knee to just below the gluteal muscles. The hamstrings are less likely to be tender, and therefore you may not feel a whole lot on this area. But again, you can go to single leg to increase the intensity and try and find a tender spot. After the hamstrings, perform it on the gluteal muscles. Roll back and forth trying to identify a tender spot. If none is found, you can shift to one side so you're getting the gluteals and also the hips. You can also do a stretching method where you prop one leg over the opposite knee and roll. This increases the intensity. The next area is the mid to upper back. Slowly roll from the middle of the back to the upper back just below the neck, trying to identify tender spots. You can cross your arms to open up the back muscles a little bit more, allowing for better penetration on the upper back. In addition, you can raise the arms over the head to get a chest stretch as well. Next is the lats. The lats are often tender. It runs from just under the armpit down to just above the middle of the back on the sides of the body. This area again is often tender. When a tender spot is found, you can rotate the arm back and forth over the tender area. Make sure to perform this on both sides, as it's likely that you might have one side that is more tender than the other side. Tight lats or trigger points in the lats can play a role in shoulder pain. You can increase or decrease the intensity by putting more or less pressure on your hand that's on the floor.
Okay, so that's a basic foam rolling and trigger point session. It's about 5 minutes. Again, if you feel areas that are extra tender, hold that spot a little bit longer. I wasn't holding those too long today because I just wanted to do a general roll or a general foam rolling session. But if you find those tender spots, hang out a little longer. And if you want more details, I have videos of specific muscles that you might want to check out because it's going to give you more detail on all of the different muscle groups of the body. So again, that's a basic foam rolling or trigger point session. You do it consistently and it'll help you. Speaking of consistently, I would like you to do this 3 to 5 times per week. You can do it before the workout, after the workout, or both. If you had to pick one, I would choose after the workout, but again, it could be done before or after. Thanks for watching. This is Glenn, and we'll see you next time.